In conjunction with our partners at the News Sentinel, we're taking a look at this changing dynamic in high school sports. Tonight in part one of Playing Time, we look at what can be a fragile web of relationships between coaches, players, parents, and fans. When the plays are working and the teams are winning, coaches rarely hear anything negative.
There's no question winning will cover up some of those things anyway.
In the 2000s, we've been pretty good, and our fan support has been phenomenal.
But it isn't always so rosy when you come out on the wrong end of the scoreboard. Maryville's George Quarles found that out in 2000 before the Rebels started piling up state titles.
When we were 0-4, I felt like, we had everybody kind of leaning on us. I kid around, but we felt like each morning we'd go out and see a for sale sign in our yard.
When you're not winning, and sometimes even when you are, there are always people quick to point out how you could have done better.
I had a parent come in and say, I don't want to tell you how to coach one time. I said, well, don't. And that's it,
Basically what I was told as a player is you listen to your coaches and you do what they tell you to do. And if you play, and if you don't, then you need to work harder.
We're going to treat the kids fairly. If you want to talk to me about your player, your son, or, we'll talk, but we do discuss no playing time.
Many parents take a hands-off approach, leaving the football decisions to the coach.
It's the coach's prerogative where he wants a kid to play or if he wants a kid to play at all.
Other parents get frustrated trying to do what they think is best for their child.
Some high school coaches don't even have coaches who played college, and so you kind of worry about those coaches teaching your child.
Lakin says his son Jordan didn't have that problem at Powell, but he admits to having occasional doubts about the way things were going.
I think every parent has that come across at some point in time, whether it's in play calling or situational things that happen.
Before Michael Hogue graduated from Farragut this year, he saw flashes of the friction in the locker room.
You'd have parents come in thinking that running the wrong defense, running the wrong offense, stuff like that.
But for the most part, the coach is the boss. That doesn't keep fans from telling him how to do his job.
There's some incidences where you're very pitiful at halftime, and then you're the greatest in the world after the game.
If you look in the professionals, they don't do exactly what their coaches want them to do. They don't do it in college, and even closer to home as a parent. The kids don't always do everything the parents want them to do. So to expect us to be able to do that is kind of unrealistic, but it is what it is. That's the reality of our jobs.
We're not going to have it. We're not going to listen to it. And we've lost some people that thought their kids could play better someplace else, and more power to them. Good luck.
There will come a point in time that you just have to say we can't talk about this anymore, and take your son and let him play on your team. And of course their response is, I don't have a team. Exactly.
Well, in Mark Burgess' story tomorrow in the News Sentinel, and in our series tomorrow evening at 6, we explore some of the issues causing this tension between coaches and parents, such as scholarships and the internet. John?
We'll look forward to that as well. Thank you, Steve.
Straight from the heart of East Tennessee, this is the evening edition of 10 News.
In our series Playing Time, we've learned after the cheering fades on Friday nights, that's when high school football coaches really start their work.
This week, in conjunction with our partners at the News Sentinel, we're taking a look at a new dynamic that is already having an impact on the future of prep football.
Sports Director Steve Phillips joins us with more perspective. Steve?
Well, Robin and John, yesterday we showed you that the sometimes contentious relationships between parents and fans have sort of escalated, that between them and the coach. Well, this evening in part 2, we will take a look at 2 of the major reasons for that friction: college scholarships and the internet. When 107,000 people roar in Neyland Stadium, it will get your attention, especially if you're a young man playing high school football or you're the parent of a high school player.
Our biggest complaint has been, why isn't my son getting a scholarship?
Sometimes dealing with somebody's baby, there's sometimes difference of opinions.
Prep coaches are under increasing pressure to help their players get a scholarship. Some parents recognize when a coach is trying to help.
When he got moved this past year to offensive line, we knew that was made, one, because the team needed him in that position, but also because that was the position that college coaches were looking at him to play.
Others don't understand, especially if their child doesn't get a lot of attention.
Parents get caught up in the thing of going to a camp like Auburn, and he's a lineman, he's 5'10", and I think parents a lot of time live in a dream world.
Almost all area high school coaches send out tapes and talk to recruiters, trying to help players who have a chance at the college level.
The coaches take pride in that, and to think that they would do anything that would keep a kid from getting a scholarship is, to me, kind of silly.
The coaches say being turned down by the SEC isn't the end of the world. There are plenty of alternatives, from academic grants to money from the lottery to other levels of football.
Once a parent gets over the notion that their kid's not going to play at UT, there's a college for them. And we've put over 100 kids in school someplace.
Most of the trouble comes from overblown expectations. And recently, a lot of the hype is coming from a relatively new source for prep sports, the internet.
More people have more to say, and a lot of the times it's anonymous, so they're just brutal.
Stuff you might read on the bathroom wall back when I was going to school. I don't know if kids still write on the bathroom wall.
These idiots would get on there and just make up things and say things about kids, and taking a 15-year-old and blasting him on the internet, then the internet company should be held responsible, or the least should give the name of the guy. He can just call himself Hound Dog and say anything he wants to.
Head coaches will tell you they don't read the internet, but their assistants do. And while they can't stop people from posting about their program, they do have rules for their players.
If I know it's them posting, then I've told them they had to quit if they want to continue playing, because what we do at Fulton stays at Fulton, and it's nobody else's business.
We conclude our series tomorrow at 6. That story and tomorrow morning's News Sentinel will focus on a relatively new issue between coaches and parents, the use of personal trainers.
And we were all talking during that story just about the influence of the internet. What's being said?
I don't think the coaches mind as much when they're being talked about. It's when a 15, 16, 17-year-old high school kid is being blasted on the internet. I think that's when they get really upset.
And it gets ugly.
Yes. This week, along with our partners at the News Sentinel, we've been looking at strained relations between coaches and the parents and fans of their teams. In the third and final segment of our series, Playing Time, we examine the growing trend of high school athletes using personal trainers, even during the season. It's a trend that many coaches oppose.
This has gone from a game that, or sport, and sports was fun for kids. Now the parents have made it a job for them.
Some athletes take the extra work on themselves in hopes of getting a scholarship. They often opt for outside help at places like D1 in West Knoxville, or with professional trainer Charles Petrone.
First thing I tell the kids is when they do come over is, I'm not going to tell you how to play football whatsoever. We're just going to train you. I'll leave that up to your coaches.
Depending on which side of the argument you hear, the problem is either one of control or concern for the young athletes.
You've got parents that are taking their kids to baseball camps, then the football camp, and the speed and agility camp. And after a while, the kids they're over it.
I think we as adults need to look at what we're doing to these guys and scale back just a little bit on what our requirements are and let them enjoy it.
We talk to them about rest. You're not doing yourself any good by working out here and then working out with a personal trainer.
I'm not saying it's a lot of friction with a lot of them, but there's always just some that are like, it's my way or the highway. You don't need to go anywhere else.
While Michael Hogue was at Farragut, he dreamed of playing at a higher level. He says that's why he came to D1.
Because I wanted to get faster and stuff, and it's hard to ask a coach or have a coach do that for you, because he's got so many players to look after.
Hogue's plan worked. He earned a scholarship to Wake Forest and reports next month. Other parents have noticed.
If my son was not eager and he was okay just being out there with the rest of them, then that was okay. But he wanted more.
He needed someone who would develop his body and keep in mind that he had a long way to go.
If you can't make yourself better, you can't make your team better. And that's the whole issue with the high school coaches. If I'm producing a better athlete for you on the field on Friday night, what's the problem?
The problem, say some coaches and administrators, is that the workouts with trainers are repetitive and unnecessary.
Out of season, off season, I think that's very, very positive. I think during season, the high school coach, if they're on their team, they should be the ones that's doing all the workouts.
I think kids need to be kids and enjoy their summers, go fishing, go to the pool, go on vacations.
They still go out on their boats and do stuff, but they understand I got to get back and do this. I think it's better to be scheduled. I think lazy time is idle time, and idle time is not good time.
Not every coach is opposed to the idea of a trainer.
I think a kid that's got a shot at going somewhere, those are good for him. And if he wants to be a better high school player, it'd be good for him. but it's not going to get him at Notre Dame or Alabama or any place like that. It's just got to be, unless he's got the tools.
Patrone says many parents now keep it secret if their child goes to a trainer, figuring it's not the coach's business what the child does after school. You can see all 3 parts of our series online, WBIR.com.